Hi guys, welcome to my second video. This is going to teach you how to do the single crochet, which is the most basic stitch there is, and you can use it to make this cute little square coaster here. Bear with me, this is the first time I'm doing a tutorial style video, so I'm still playing around with angles and colors and things that work well on camera. So if it doesn't work well the first time, I'll try to get it better in the next video. So we're gonna get started. What you need today is a 4-weight yarn that I talked about in the first video. This is a leftover skein of Caron 1 pound. I don't know the color, I don't have the label anymore, but this is a great yarn to learn with. It makes really sturdy stitches that you can see well, so it's a great one to start with. So if you see this in the craft stores, Caron, C-A-R-O-N, it's the Caron 1 pound, and they come in these giant 1 pound skeins in all kinds of nice colors. This is a nice, I don't know, tealish color. All right, so you're gonna need a skein of 4-weight yarn. You're going to need a 5.5 millimeter hook, also known as an eye in the US. I forget what it's in Canada and the UK. I don't know. It's eye in US though, but just go by the size 5.5 millimeter. This is a clover hook. These are my favorites. You're also going to need a pair of scissors, and eventually you will need a yarn needle. I have these cool ones with these plastic eyes that work really well, especially for beginners. And I'm going to show you at the end of our little project how to weave in your ends so you can have a nice clean project without the ends hanging off. So let's get started. So you're going to want to find the end of your yarn. Now, the best way to pull from a skein of yarn is called a center pull, meaning you're pulling the end right from the center. Some skein of yarns don't allow you to do it. It's just too tangly or too hard, so you're going to have to find an end on the outside. If you can find a center end, try to do that. It's going to be a lot easier. You're not going to have to unwind the ball as you go. You can just pull directly from the center, and it's a nice clean pull, and it makes it a lot easier to work with. So if you can pull from the center, do that. We're going to start with a slip knot. Every single crochet project is going to start with a slip knot. Now there's a million different ways to do it. The way I do it is that I wrap it around my first 2 fingers, and then I use my thumb to grab and pull, and that's your slip knot. If it takes a couple tries, you know, don't worry about it. Keep trying until you get it. Pause the video, come back. I should probably start by saying that you're gonna get frustrated a lot doing this. You're gonna have to stop and rewind the video a lot. Everybody does, don't feel bad about it. You'll get it, just keep trying. I taught myself on YouTube videos, and I had to keep going back a million times. And if you find my voice annoying or the way I teach just isn't working for you, don't feel bad. Find another video on YouTube that works for you. I won't be insulted, I promise. I just really want you to learn because I love it, and I think you'll love it too. Okay, so once you got that slip knot, you put your hook right into the center of it. I hope you guys can see this okay. All right, so now we're ready to begin, and we're going to chain. Every project starts with a foundation chain, at least at first. Then we'll get into the trickier stuff later. But to chain, all you're doing is you're taking your hook, you're finding the end of the yarn, and you're pulling it through. That would be 1. Then we'll do it again for 2. Do it again for 3. So let me start over and show you that slip knot and the chain again. And then we're going to do a chain of 16 to start this. So I'm going to pull out my yarn, and you can see when you need to start over, or we call it frogging in crochet, when you pull out a project. To frog, you just pull really gently and get it out. So let's start with a slip knot again. Wrap it around your first 2 fingers. Use your thumb to grab the end. Pull it through. Make a slip knot. I hope you can see that. Put your hook through. Pull it a little tighter so you don't have a big loose knot there. And now we're going to start. Now, when you're first starting to chain, you're going to kind of play around with how to hold the yarn. This is the way I hold it. I wrap it around my pinky and my index finger. Not everybody does this. It's just something natural that happened over the first couple months I was crocheting, and this is just what I gravitated to as I was holding it. If you need to hold it like this or like this, whatever works, just kind of play around with how you can hold that extra yarn. And what you're doing is you're feeding it to the hook. So you need some sort of system where you can gently feed the yarn to the hook and maintain a tension. Okay, so let's start chaining again. So you're going to wrap the hook, pull it through. We're going to chain 16. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And so now you have a chain of 16. Go ahead and count them to make sure. And you will see every little circle shape, it counts as one chain. So you should have 16 total chains. Now we're going to start the single crochet. So this first loop, the one that's on your hook already from chaining, we don't count this one that's going into it. So you don't work back into that. You're going to work the first chain, which is right next to it. So I don't know if you can see me go into it, but you're going to just put your hook directly in the middle of that chain. And it's going to look like this once you put it in there. And then you're going to what we call yarn over. So you're putting your yarn over your hook and you're pulling it through. When you do that, you should have 2 loops on your hook. See those 2 loops? Now you're going to yarn over, meaning you're going to hook that yarn and you're going to pull it through both those loops. And that is a single crochet. So then you're going to do that on every single chain across. And let me tell you, working the chain row is always the hardest. So it's going to be hard, especially when you're beginning, but just know that once you get this first row done, the rest of them are going to be so much easier to see and so much easier to do. So it's going to be frustrating. Take it slow, go back, pause, rewind if you have to. I'm going to work this first row with you. So we got the first one done. We're going to do 2, put it through, yarn over, pull it through till you have 2 loops. Then you're going to pull it through again. If you need to, when you're beginning, just tighten it up a little bit if it's a little too loose. And when you begin, your stitches are not going to look even. Your tension is going to be all over the place because you're just learning. So don't worry about that at first. It'll improve as you go. So now we're going to the third one, pull through, pull through. And I'm just going to work at a normal pace so you can see what it looks like when you get the hang of it. And go ahead and count each one if you need to. And I will go back and count them with you when we get to the end. So you're just going through, pull up, pull through both. Trying to see how you can see it the best here. Go through, pick up the yarn, pull through, 2 loops on the hook, pull them through. Keep going. If you need to pull out a little bit of yarn to give yourself some leeway there, go ahead and do that. Through, through. This is the easiest of the stitches, I would say. It's not my favorite to do. I actually don't do a lot of single crochet, so this is This feels a little awkward to me. Okay, so when you get to the end here, you're gonna wanna make sure that you're working into that last chain. Now, if you're not positive, if you're at the right spot, count backwards and see how many stitches you have. Now, I know we chained 16, but we're going to have a total of 15 stitches when we're all done, because that extra chain is the one that you're working with. So if you go back and count, so if you see, oh yeah, I'm doing this on my phone, so it's not the best quality. So there's the first stitch. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that I know that I'm on the right track and I'm doing my very last stitch. I'm gonna put it through, bring it, and 15. Go ahead and tighten up a little bit if you have to. Now, once you get those 15 stitches in, now we're ready to start. Now, when you do a single crochet, at the end of each row, you're going to chain 1. And what that does is it gives you a little bit of height to work into your next row, and it's your starting chain. So we did the chain 1. Now we're always going to turn our work. You do this with most projects, unless the pattern doesn't say to turn, but almost all the time you're going to turn. Some people turn counterclockwise, some people turn clockwise. Whichever way you choose, just do that every single time and never switch it around. So believe it or not, I am a counterclockwise person. That's just who I am. So that's how I turn. So I always turn counterclockwise. If you want to turn clockwise, just make sure you're doing that every single time. So we turn, and now we're ready to start our new row. So now you can see these stitches are a whole lot easier to see than your chain row. And what you're gonna wanna do, if you look at the very top of what you just did, the stitches look like little V's. Now you're gonna be working under both of those loops, the single V. You're not gonna be working into just 1 or 2, you're gonna be working under both. So that little V is the entire stitch. So now we're just gonna do the same thing we did on the first row, and we're gonna stick our hook under both those loops. The first stitch, we're going to grab it, pull it under, so you have two loops on your hook, and you're gonna pull the yarn through both of them. And you're just gonna do that all the way across. Each row should have 15 stitches, just like the previous. So we're gonna keep going 15 times. Like I said, go slow, pause it if you have to, come back. Under the first 2 loops, pull through. You can hear my dog Leslie Nope in the background. She's very confused as to why I'm out in the dining room when everyone else isn't. All right, I keep going. All right, now again, just like before, when you get to the end, this is something that beginners tend to do a lot. They either put too many or too few stitches in a row, and that's usually because they either miss the last stitch or they misinterpret the last stitch as 2 stitches. So we're just gonna count backwards to make sure that we did the right amount of stitches. So I'll start from the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, so that I know that I am on the last stitch. Get it through under both those loops there. 15. Okay. So now we did row 2 of our single crochet coaster. All right, so I'm gonna do one more row with you, but in order to do this coaster here, I believe I did 16 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I did 17 rows. So in order to get this size, you can do 17. Now you can keep going as long as you want or as short as you want. I just wanted to give you an actual usable project. So this is the perfect size for a coaster. I'm going to just do a few rows and show you how to end it and to weave in your ends when you're finished. Now, in order to count your rows, when you're new, it's kind of hard to figure out what's what. Just gently pull it apart and you can see right there, there's a row, there's a row, there's a row, and you'll be able to count your rows. But go ahead and make it as big as you want. If it looks like a good size coaster, go ahead and stop. Whatever, it doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be exactly like mine. So I'm gonna do one more row with you and then I'm gonna show you how to end and tie off and also how to weave in your ends. So we're at the end of a row. We're going to chain 1 and turn. I'm going to turn counterclockwise. All right, and then we're gonna work right into that first stitch. Pull up a loop, pull through both loops. Go through, pull up a loop, go through both loops. Pull up a loop, go through both loops. Now go ahead and leave me any questions or comments if you're not seeing what I'm doing or you want me to hold it a different way. Like I said, this is all brand new to me. I'm trying really hard to get it as clear as possible of what I'm doing. Hopefully you can see that. Go slow motion here. Pull up a loop, go through both loops. Okay, I'll stop, I'm sorry. Okay, one more time. Go through, pull up a loop, pull through both loops. Go through, pull up a loop, go through both loops. Get myself some yarn there. There we go. Go ahead and work that row. Remember, you want 15 stitches in each row. And it's gonna curl, especially if you're using a thicker, sturdier yarn like I am. Your work's gonna curl a little bit as you go. We will get into ways where you can block your projects when you're done, which basically means wash and dry them or steam them, depending. And that'll stop it from curling. All right, so I did my 3 rows. I'm gonna pretend that I'm finished and this is 17. So go ahead and pause the video now and do your 17 rows or however long you want. And then come back to this point and I will show you how to tie off and weave the ends. If you're ready, then let's do it. So you take your little scissors, cut off, leave yourself enough space to weave it in, a little leeway there. And then tying off just means that you're going to take your hook, take the yarn that's left, pull it through that last loop, and pull tight. And that's how you tie off a project. There we go. Now I'm going to show you how to weave in those pesky ends. Now I am what I call a lazy weaver. I hate sewing in my ends. It's my least favorite part of crocheting. So I'm sure if you watch other videos, they're going to give you a much more thorough way to do this. Like I said, I'm really lazy about it. I just do it to the point where it's secure and then I'm done. So the whole point of weaving in your ends is you want to make it secure so it doesn't untie and undo your entire project, and you want them so that you can't see these ends. So what you do is you take your needle and you go through a couple stitches that are close by where your end is. You don't want to skip too much because then you're going to pull. Then you put the yarn through the eye. I mean, obviously you probably know how to use a needle, hopefully. It's the same way with sewing. You're just working with bigger needle, bigger thread. So there we go. So you just keep doing that back and forth. I usually go a little bit farther than this, not much, because like I said, I'm really lazy about it. So that's about as far as I would go. And then I take my scissors and I trim the end as close as I can, then make sure it's hidden, and there we go. Now I will weave in the next one to show you. Now I have a gap here. You may also have a gap. It was just the way I worked my chain. I wasn't paying close attention to my chain stitches, and that first one was just a little bit bigger than the rest. So that's why I have that gap. If you have it, don't worry about it. We can fix it right now while we're weaving in our ends. So you get it through. There we go, no more gap. Whoops. I'm also super clumsy, if you haven't noticed. Jeez, I mean, yeah. I don't know how to save myself from that one. All right, and then put it through, and there we go. And there you go. And I'm just gonna trim it and be done. So this obviously is nothing. It's a little rectangle. But when you're finished, you should have something that looks like this. Now, I realize that yours is probably not going to look as neat and uniform as mine is. It took me a long time to get to this kind of tension. It doesn't come easily. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of work, but keep at it, because I promise you it'll come to you eventually, and it'll be fun, and you can make all kinds of fun things, and you won't be sorry. So this is the single crochet. In the next video, I am going to do a half double crochet, and we will make, I don't know, probably a washcloth or something a little bit bigger than this. But I just wanted to give you a basic project that you could use a single crochet stitch with. I recommend just doing it over and over and over again, because any other stitch is going to build off of the single crochet. So you're going to want to know how to do that well before you move on to the next stitch. You could take this concept, make a longer starting chain, make it bigger. You could turn this into a washcloth or a dishcloth, whatever you want. If you want to do that, I would suggest using cotton instead of acrylic, though. Acrylic's not great for washcloths because it doesn't absorb water very well. Cotton does. So, but this, you could make a pot holder with acrylic. You could make, what are those things called that you put the hot pots on? I don't know, trivets or something. You could do lots of things just with this basic pattern. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you could see me well. Go ahead and leave any comments or anything of suggestions for how I can improve this. Like I said, this is the first time I'm doing a tutorial video. I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's really fun showing you guys how to crochet. So I hope to keep doing them. This was really fun. I had a really tough day with my anxiety. I wasn't even going to do this today because I was struggling, but I decided to go ahead and push myself and do it, and I'm really glad I did. So I hope you liked watching it, and I will see you guys soon. Have fun crocheting!